Hello everyone, my name is Steph'on. What I am presenting to you today is my essay, my analysis on the dominant narratives of societal structure and the counter narratives of African American writers. Essentially, how African American authors use their writings as a means of combating the stereotypes of the powers that be. This here is for Mr. Maguire's African American literature class, where we discuss African American literature and get a deeper understanding of the context of the writing to understand it beyond the words, beyond the surface. I want to take the time to thank Mr. Maguire for introducing me to the concepts of binary opposition, critical theory, dominant narratives, and counter narratives, because I've been able to use these concepts in my everyday life, in what I write, and also how I perceive the world and how I approach it. So without further ado, let's get to it. I'm excited. It's a lot to unpack, and that's what we're here for. You know what I'm saying? Let's do it. Let's do it. So as I examine the writings of these unique Black authors, I start to see the correlation between them all. The themes of most are the narratives against African culture and the concepts and perspectives of the white gaze. In the commentary from the spirituals that I've read, through the slave master or white lens, the observer tends to have at first this preconceived notion on what Blacks think, feel, and do, rooted from the dominant narratives of societal structures. They would often spy on these objects, which would lead them in a spiral of confusion, wondering how such beauty can reside in such hideous times. It is said by W.E.B. Du Bois in writing In the Souls of Black Folk, and so by fateful chance, the Negro folk song, the rhythmic cry of the slave, stands today not simply as the sole American music, but as the most beautiful expression of human experience born this side the seas. It has been neglected. It has been and is half despised. And above all, it has been persistently mistaken and misunderstood. But notwithstanding, it still remains as the singular spiritual heritage of the nation and the greatest gift of the Negro people. For those that form these stereotypes and ideal character of Africans, the writers use the symbols of mainstream Western Christianity and American culture in their literature as counter-narratives against them, exposing the dark side of America and assimilated consciousness of the Negro, while also shedding light on the possibility of freedom from these ideologies and structures constructed by their oppressors, with the vernacular tradition. They could also be taken as threats against the system, using biblical phrases metaphorically to provoke thought and perhaps spark a revolution outside of the writing. This would make sense, being that the writings and the songs were used to deliver a message to fellow slaves in times of bondage as an instruction manual or escape plan. Writings such as Go Down Moses, Ride In Kind Savior, This World Almost Done, and I Know Moonrise challenge the authority of white supremacy and the overall white gaze, and with this religious undertone encourages and exhorts others to break free from the shackles they've been bound by. Not only the ones physically stolen from their lands, stripped of their identity, working the field, but also towards the generation to come afterwards, inspiring Negroes of today and all downtrodden and demonized to break free from the mental conceptions projected unto them by those in positions of power who hold these dominant narratives. In one of the folk songs titled Hold Your Light, the counter narratives with the vernacular tradition and various biblical phrases are shown within the lines. Hold your light, brother Robert. Hold your own, Canaan shore. My mother is gone. Into heaven, my Lord. There's room in dar. Eyes been on the road. And also in Ride in Kind Savior. Ride in Kind Savior. No man can hinder me. In this world almost done. In this world almost done. Brother, keep your light trimming and a burning. These are all examples of how African writers used the vernacular of a slave to convey the trials and tribulations of being one and the endurance of the atrocities done to them. Some of the questions which arose were, what was the intention of black authors of the 1900s who were literate when incorporating this way of speech into their writing? Did it have any impact on the aspiring Negro authors of the 1920 Harlem Renaissance? In what ways are the hip-hop artists of the modern world influenced by this form of delivery? The vernacular tradition is, in my opinion, the art of dialectic expression and goes deeper than just the slang words used by African Americans. But in its totality, it captures the shared experience of environmental struggle, suffering, and hope for freedom of blacks across the diaspora, placing the reader in the perspective of the tale and in the era in which they take place, which was very important for me to know to gain an understanding of the context in which it was written and acquire a sense of empathy for those in its circumstance. The stories of Kuta Kinte and the life of Alauda Equiano, yes sir, I think I still butchered the name, but it's all goody, are the stories and lives of many Negro people who have been sold into slavery, robbed of their identity, and given a new one. In relation to today, these stories mirror the collective assimilated consciousness of black people, how black children are brought up being educated by their oppressors and take heed to the stigmas of their being, becoming bound by the image and standard of the white gaze, who are told what they should be, how they should express themselves, and what role to play in their script. The question then becomes, should black writers refrain from weaving the vernacular tradition in their books, poems, songs, etc., being that the narrative is often that blacks are illiterate and ignorant of English grammar? Or should they continue to uphold this tradition as a means of embracing the culture of dialectic expression and fighting against the social marginalization of societal structures? My name is Steph'on Riggins. Thank you.